Thank you very much, and good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, depending on where you're joining. I'm joining from sunny Singapore today. As I mentioned before, my name is Dimitrios Papanastasiou. I do head what we call the industry practice group within Moody's Analytics, or in layman terms, if you like, the team of industry practitioners that works together with our clients in order to provide solutions that meet their requirements. In terms of my personal background, I have been in the banking industry since I started my career, more specifically within the risk space, having worked for a number of commercial and investment banks in Europe, plus also the regulator before I joined Moody's and I moved to Singapore. I was asked today to say a few words and spend a few minutes just to summarize a little bit some key trends that we have seen in the banking industry, and also to look a little bit ahead as to what you might expect. And as I was trying to gather a little bit my thoughts and give some structure to them, I had to look back at what we have seen and the major trends that we have seen over the last maybe 2 to 3 years. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that the main two areas that we have seen significant shift has been first, obviously, the technology part. It was mentioned in the opening remarks as well. The pace of digital acceleration has increased quite a bit. But for me, it's not only about the digitalization or the digital transformation, which at the end of the day, if you think about it, they're not really new terms for anyone. They have been around in the banking industry since forever, right? Since I started working myself. And yet with COVID, we saw that not only technology per se, but also our perception of technology and our comfort level to actually utilize and leverage technology in the decision-making process has actually changed quite a bit, right? And even after COVID, if you look at the more recent developments with, for example, ChatGPT 3.5 or 4, and the introduction of generative AI, we see that, a technology in a space that was not, again, new to the banking industry, like AI and machine learning. It has been around for quite a while. When did we ever see wide adoption for AI and machine learning, or as wide adoption as we have seen with the generative AI developments and also the introduction of ChatGPT? So technology is there, it has always been there, but I think, as I mentioned, the way that we see and perceive technology and the way we are comfortable nowadays to actually leverage technology in the decision-making process, for me, that has been one of the key points that I saw a major shift in the banking industry. Of course, having the technology, but without data and analytics is a little bit like having the cookbook or the recipe, but not having the ingredients. And to be honest, I mean, the ingredients or the data and the analytics these days are quite important because the nature of risk, or the way we perceive risk and we define risk, has also changed a little bit as well. Obviously, COVID, it's a once in a lifetime kind of event, right? No one could really foresee it. But even after COVID, if you look at what happened, for example, with Russia and Ukraine, right? We're talking about a military conflict in a specific part of the world. And yet that specific event had global implications. It had global impact on food prices, on energy prices, on inflation, then obviously a knock-on effect on interest rates to battle that inflation. And obviously that led to increasing credit losses, or in some cases, if you look at the US and Europe, you had also bank failures, right? Because some banks didn't really realize how quickly the interest rate level will change, and hence they couldn't actually manage effectively the mismatch between assets and liabilities. So it's really that interconnectedness, or this exponential rate nature of risk that we have seen during COVID, but also after COVID, that I think is quite crucial. And it actually has fundamentally changed the way that institutions see risk, perceive risk, and they're trying to actually manage risk, right? Not to mention, of course, like regulatory kind of developments, that on top of capital and liquidity, you have also ESG, sustainability aspects to take into consideration, climate risk, and so on, right? Now, with that being said, because I don't want to finish on a negative note or only looking at the risks, and because I do fundamentally believe that when there is risk and when there is uncertainty, there's also opportunity, right? And if we are to talk about the era of exponential risk, we should also start talking about the era of exponential opportunities, right? Because for those institutions that really realize how powerful the combination of technology, obviously digitalization, data and analytic is, then those institutions will not only be able to effectively manage risk or fulfill their regulatory requirements, but actually there will be in a very good position to identify new opportunities and ultimately thrive going forward. And if you think about it, for me, this is the key nature of banking tech, right? It's not technology for the sake of having technology, but it's really to actually give to the banking institutions the right tools to make better decisions and to make those decisions faster, while at the same time ensuring that the growth that they're seeing is sustainable and is based on a solid understanding and measurement of the underlying risks that the banking industry is facing. And with this, I'm going to hand it back to the organizers, and I want to wish all of you to enjoy the rest of the session.